Model haunted houses are quickly becoming the Christmas trees of October, and for a lot of good reasons. They have a lot of charm. They can be dressed up in cool ways. You may have found videos for do-it-yourself projects where you make these from scratch, or maybe it's a matter of making over a doll's house. The end result is always really cool, but the projects tend to be a little bit demanding. If you're looking for a DIY project that's a little less of a commitment, this might be the right one for you. August Mergelman here, and my designs can be found on augustmergelman.weebly.com. Just to be totally clear, I do not provide any actual objects. I only provide the designs, and the designs will come to you in the form of STLs, which are pretty universal. So if you have a printer, you can print it yourself, or you can send the objects away to be printed. If you take the latter option, I do recommend Craft Cloud. This is an online service that can connect you with a good printer. The scale of the model is really up to you. This is the size that will come to you, and it's really the smallest size that I recommend. It's roughly 8 inches tall and 8 inches wide, and the width there is really kind of a diagonal width. If you go any smaller, objects like this door and these rails get just a little too thin to hold up. There's another issue with changing the size. It has to do with this hole right here. It is ready-made for a clip-in light. This kind of light is really handy. It's often associated with plastic Santa Clauses. However, instead of the white cord, I do recommend the black cord. I also like one with this switch. Here's the most important thing you need to know about the light bulb. It absolutely must be an LED bulb. An incandescent bulb would burn way too hot, and you would have an extra scary Halloween if you used an incandescent bulb. This hole is 1 inch in diameter, which is standard. If you make the object smaller or bigger, then you might have to change this hole. Not a big deal, just something you have to keep in mind. The order does include 2 pieces, the outer piece and the inner piece. Let's start with the outer piece. I recommend printing it in flat black. However, as you can see, it is pretty flat. It needs a little dimension, and paint will really help with that. So give it a coat of primer and then do some dry brushing. If you don't know what dry brushing is, go ahead and look that up online. You'll find some great videos. For the trim, like the windows and the columns, I chose kind of a brownish color. But then for the siding and the shingles, I chose more of a bluish color. And as you can see, I did not attempt to cover up all of the black. That would have really defeated the purpose. When I was done painting it, I hosed it down in polyurethane and let it dry outside. I recommend having the inner piece printed in translucent PLA. I had this one printed in translucent orange PLA. I am happy with it, but I don't really have a lot of options with it. The light coming through is always going to be orange. You can put an orange bulb inside. Make sure it's one that's shaped kind of like this, because the room is really tight. There's not a lot of room for a bulb, and you can experiment with what color bulb you like. I have found though that the color changing bulbs, they look great, but they're just a little too big for this model. Another option is to use LED fairy lights. Multicolor does work really well. It just gives it a little bit of texture. And I really like the USB cord. It's not as bulky as a standard plug. You just have to find a way to get these spread out within the object. Not too hard. Here's a happy accident. The space between the windows and the inner piece ended up being a lot. There's quite a gap there. So I thought that I would fix that, and then I realized that would be a big mistake. This gap is actually the perfect place for some kind of shadowy figure that could be made out of black construction paper. But I have a feeling white might work even better. I'll leave it up to you to experiment and accessorize. If you come up with something really cool, be sure to look me up and share it. Until then, happy haunting.